Our modern world is not secular, no matter how much we want to believe it is. Every morning, billions of people wake up, check the clock, and step into a cycle of obedience that feels natural, almost invisible. They call it work. They call it productivity. They call it progress. But beneath these neutral names exists a system far older than modern society itself. A system that has always demanded sacrifice. Time, energy, life measured, extracted, and consumed. What we experience as daily routine is not new. It is a continuation of Saturn's worship, still active, still powerful, and largely unseen by those who serve it. In ancient cultures, Saturn was never a minor god. He stood at the foundation of order itself. While other gods ruled elements like the sky or the sea, Saturn governed limitation. He fixed boundaries, set durations, imposed endings. He was not a creator, but a container. That is why he inspired both reverence and fear. To live under Saturn was to live within rules that could not be escaped. His archetype expressed itself through three overlapping aspects. The first was time. To the ancients, time was not abstract. It was a tool of control. Calendars allowed rulers to decide when debts were due, when labor began, when festivals occurred, and when punishment was enforced. Whoever controlled time controlled society. Time could be divided, counted, taxed, and harvested. The second aspect was prison. Saturn ruled contracts, laws, walls, and obligations. In Roman religion, he was linked to both law and agriculture, systems that regulate behavior and survival. In esoteric traditions, Saturn corresponds to severity, structure, and form, potential locked into matter, freedom compressed into obligation. He was a cosmic warden, the keeper of karmic debt. The third aspect was consumption. The myth of Kronos devouring his children was not a metaphor for succession. It was a vision of reality itself being eaten hour by hour, existence consumed by time. Goya's image of Saturn devouring his son captured this terror perfectly. A force that does not merely measure life, but feeds on it. Every harvest, every aging body, every death reinforced the same truth. Saturn is always hungry. His symbols made this visible. The scythe harvested crops and lives alike. The ring represented cycles and confinement. Eternal return without escape. The cube embodied matter itself, solid, heavy, inescapable. These were not decorative images. They encoded a single principle: impose order, extract value, consume what has been measured. Saturn did not disappear with the fall of ancient temples. He evolved. When societies developed clocks and calendars, cosmic rhythm became political infrastructure. Mechanical time turned life into hours that could be bought and sold. With the rise of bookkeeping and finance, merchants inherited powers once reserved for priests. The ability to measure how much of a human life could be consumed through labor and debt. What once lived in temples moved into contracts, ledgers, and schedules. Modern corporations became the perfect vessels for this archetype: deadlines, audits, quarterly cycles, compliance reports. These are rituals disguised as management. Productivity divides life into measurable units and harvests them until exhaustion. Sacrifice no longer burns on an altar. It drains silently through calendars and paychecks. Time converted because they were distilled into geometry. The black cube appears across religions and power structures. Binding, enclosure, permanence. The hexagon became a symbol of structure and efficiency, from alchemy to architecture. Even modern science confirmed Saturn's signature with the massive hexagonal storm at its pole. The sickle evolved from tool to weapon to emblem, cutting crops, lives, and revolutions alike. The rings of Saturn marked the boundary of the ancient cosmos, reinforcing his role as gatekeeper. These forms embedded themselves into secret societies, religions, and eventually governance. The cube as cornerstone, lead as Saturn's metal, weight, gravity, mortality. Renaissance magicians invoked Saturn not for freedom, but for control. By the time modern institutions emerged, his language was already inscribed into architecture, law, and finance. Look at corporations through this lens, and ritual becomes obvious. Schedules, punch clocks, organizational charts, all orbit the same principle: time as domination. Even the week carries his name. Saturday, Saturn's day. Fiscal years broken into quarters. Accounting language echoes temples. Close the books. Liquidate. Redeem. Measure. Mark. Harvest. Architecture reinforces the same obedience. Cubes and plazas. Rings and campuses. Stone and glass imposing gravity and enclosure. Corporate logos repeat the language of orbits, grids, and containment. Inside, the priesthood has new titles: compliance, risk, audit, KPI. Quarterly reviews replace ancient festivals. Warehouses and algorithms push the logic further. Every movement tracked. Every pause penalized. Life reduced to metrics. Debt completes the ritual. In myth, Saturn always collects. In finance, the same logic persists. Contracts bind future years. Interest grows like rings. Calendars dictate harvests of payment. Ancient societies understood debt as temporal bondage and periodically erased it. Jubilee, amnesties, release from obligation. Modern debt shackles calendars instead of bodies. Mortgages, student loans, credit cards. Future life pledged in advance. Early payments feed mostly interest. The devourer eats first. Credit scores function as secular karma. Invisible, permanent, defining destiny. Fear of default becomes an internal prison. At the sovereign level, debt rules nations. Interest paid before people. Bonds rolled endlessly. Punishment for failure. Central banks act as priesthood, the religion enforced through timetables. Saturn becomes a sovereign schedule. The final realization is unsettling. Saturn never vanished. He migrated from God to symbol, from symbol to system, from system to daily life. Corporations are his temples. Calendars are scriptures. Debt his sacrament. Humanity no longer stands outside the ritual. Humanity is the ritual. Every hour worked, every deadline met, every obligation fulfilled renews the covenant. Saturn does not demand belief, only obedience, and the offering he has always desired is still given freely. Time itself,